Amazing. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us today. It's wonderful to have you all here. My name is Ayushi Jain, and I'm a performance specialist at Udacity. In my role, I oversee multiple initiatives, manage day-to-day operations across the School of Programming and School of AI. With over 5+ years of experience in the edtech sector, I'm deeply passionate about creating impactful learning experiences. It's truly an honor to contribute to the growth and success of our learners here at Udacity. Welcome to the webinar series. Here we are dedicated to providing value beyond the core curriculum. This platform invites you to explore groundbreaking innovations and unlock practical insights guided by the wealth of professional expertise that our mentors bring to the table. We have my co-host here, Karan Wazirani, who is part of our internal team at Udacity. He handles operations for the School of Business, and he ensures that both students and mentors have a seamless experience throughout their journey. Thank you, Karan, for being here. Now, it's my esteemed honor to introduce our speaker for today's session, Mr. Daniel Abrão. He has been a tremendous mentor in his journey at Udacity, from earning multiple certifications across various nanodegree programs to completing over 11,000 plus project reviews. He has been an invaluable asset to our mentor community. His experience lies mainly in web and automation technologies. He has been a dedicated mentor of Udacity's mentor community for over 7 years now. Thank you, Daniel, for joining us today and for your incredible dedication to our community. We're truly excited to hear your insights and learn from you. Before I hand it over to Daniel, please note that this webinar will be recorded. Also, if you have any questions, kindly use the Q&A tab below because we won't be checking up the questions from the chat box. You have to ask the questions in the Q&A tab. Without any further ado, please, I'll hand it over to Daniel. Take it over.
Thank you, Ayushi. Thank you, Karen. And thank you, everyone, for attending this session. Let me share my screen and we can get started. Okay. My name is Daniel, of course, and I work as a solutions architect at IBM Brazil for over 10 years now. And I'm with Udacity for the past 7 years as a mentor for web development, blockchain, automation technologies, cloud computing, and other related technologies. Today, I'm here to talk about the latest hype that the industry went through, which is AI, artificial intelligence, and how I absorbed that into my role and extracted value from the tooling and concepts that we now have at our disposal on our daily basis operations. So hopefully, I will be able to share some insights on how to use that technology in different ways to reach higher heights on your deliverables. So first, as I mentioned, I am at the industry for more than 10 years now, focused on web development and all things related to it. So security, communications, integrations, all sorts of stuff related to web development, focused on the industry. So I'm well used to enterprise applications, automations that runs thousands to millions of rows on a daily basis, extracting, transforming, and loading to support IBM financial operations. And at Udacity, I helped many students in those technologies as well. And I'm an avid open source contributor. So on my daily basis operations, I use open source a lot, lots of libraries, lots of documentations. So I feel that it's only fair to give it back at least a little to the community. So I have some open source projects going on. I have some contributions to Node.js, Goop, Webpack, and other tooling that I use on my deliverables. And as you will see through this presentation, I love lists. I break everything into 3 as much as I can. So hopefully this will help explain the insights that I brought to you guys today. So what is web development after all? We are talking about a huge net of things that we can deliver by knowing JavaScript, Python, other languages as well. But the overall web development capabilities, like integrating APIs, building front-end applications, creating tooling. So that's why I'm never bored at work. I'm always doing something that is new, at least to me, that I need to study, research, understand the best practices, understand the documentation, the guidelines. So there is not even a day that I'm bored at work for the past 10 years. I don't know about the next 10, but hopefully I will never get bored, not only by the amount of things that I can achieve by being a web developer, but for the industry itself. We are always evolving, learning new stuff. AI is just the latest hype that the industry is seeing, but I already went through some other different hypes like Internet of Things, blockchain. Those things always make a great impact in the industry. Like the hype goes away, but there are concepts, technologies, tooling, things that gets rooted at the industry forever. So AI won't be different. I will be showing some prompt techniques, some applications, open source applications that I have been working on them in the past few months, and I would not be able to achieve those things without AI. So I'm anxious at some point to see the next hype at the industry. There are some candidates like 5G technology is one that is on the hype, on the spot, perhaps not the same as AI, but there are some things that we can take advantage of. And as developers, engineers, architects, we must be able to identify those things and take advantage of them. Because my career grew a lot in the past year just by the fact that I went there and learned how to use it. Because as a developer, I must be honest, I was kind of skeptical about low code solutions, AI things, because I have pride on my work. So as a developer, I was always skeptical until I started using. I feel like I have some sort of superpowers in the industry right now because I know how to structure my line of thought. I know how to extract value out of prompts, APIs, tooling, and those things allow me to deliver solutions that I wasn't able before. I needed other people like data scientists, data engineers, and we will go through those things today. I will show the things I've done, and I will explain why I would not be able to deliver it without the industry being at a step that we are today. So I have this image that I exemplifies how I feel working with JavaScript nowadays. I can do a whole bunch of things and, of course, have better visibility at the work because I'm delivering stuff that impacts different areas. I'm not a guy focused on front end or back end. I try to be a full stack developer delivery wise. So this helps me have more visibility both at IBM, Udacity, and the industry overall. So this is a technology that I believe it worth investing your time. And we will discuss that learning a specific language is not a good approach any longer. You need to learn concepts. You need to exercise problems and solutions, and then identify the right tooling to make that work, to deliver that solution. So I will explore how I do that on my daily basis work. Before we dive into what is AI, I want to clarify what is not AI, okay? Because people usually mix things up and things like, hey, AI will steal our jobs, it will solve all the problems, and this is not how it works whatsoever. So it won't steal our jobs. Why? Because AI itself is not useful. We need people using it, and we need people supervising it. We need to understand the results. We need to refine it. So jobs will evolve as they always did, like industry revolution. All countries had some sort of industry evolution over time, over the years, but they always exist. And we are seeing another revolution in the industry. Jobs won't disappear, but they will evolve. They will become something else. So when they say that AI can save time, the focus is not cutting heads. It's not like, hey, I will save 30% of time so I can fire 30% of people of my company. No, I want to empower that people that now has more time to be more capable, to be more productive, to augment their deliverables. So it's not in the mood of getting rid of people, but augmenting what they can do. So companies will have better results. People will be able to deliver more things, have more impact, and that's why I believe that the industry itself, jobs won't disappear. They will only evolve. And of course, AI won't solve all the problems. We are past that phase of the hype that all managers, all leaders, all people in the industry wants AI solutions because it was the hype. Now we are at the phase that people understand AI is not a silver bullet. We won't solve all the problems using AI. Some systems are better if we stick with the traditional if and else, right? It's cheaper, it's more assertive, but in the hype phase, everyone wants some AI element, some AI component, AI agent of some sort. And um, the truth is, AI is not suitable to all problems. And there are different types of AI, which we will explore a bit today. And one thing that actually won't happen, at least not in the current state of the industry, is some AI taking over the world because it's learning things by itself. It becomes sentient and takes over some industry or some company or something like that. It won't happen like that because we can't have unsupervised learning. We can't throw some AI, some intelligence out in the world and expect it to learn by itself or learn by user input alone because people are trolls. We know that. So if you go in there and release some AI to learn with user input, we know that bias will be inserted, racism, structural problems, fake information. So all this stuff is, at least today, controlled by humans. So OpenAI, Google, and other companies, they have human beings as curators. They curate content before inserting into the model. So it's not a thing like, hey, let's release it into the wide and see what happens. No, we have human beings all over the process, from the user input to the data review, subject matter experts, and finally packing it into a product like we see today with ChatGPT. So for personal assistants, I want to start talking about AI and personal assistants because this is what brought attention from the world, right? ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and others that followed. But we had some sort of assistance from long time now. If you think about Amazon Alexa, for example, we see that in the industry for a long time now. But what made assistants popular was indeed ChatGPT, but we have three categories, main categories. We have voice assistants that I won't cover today. It's Amazon Alexa, Google Speaker, and things like that. We have chatbots like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Cloud, IBM Watson X, and there are many flavors of chatbots today, but they are all intended to be your personal assistant of some sort. And we also have code assistants like GitHub Copilot, JetBrains, Intelligence, and there are, of course, others as well. But today, I will focus on the chatbots. And I prepared 3 demos. Remember, I shared that I love lists, and so I brought a list of 3 demos today of things that I use on my daily basis. I have different other examples that we can discuss, but I prepared 3 ones that I will share the links of the prompts that you guys and girls can go through it, and we can discuss it together. So my first example, briefly explaining the use case before sharing the link. It's as a front-end developer at IBM mostly, I need to interview users, I need to prepare personas, I need to have some basis before building my features into my applications, right? So before using AI, I had from the inception, from the initial discussions, I had to come up with personas. So I needed a workshop, I needed to set up some interviews, I need some form, I needed to gather information somehow. And it always takes a lot of time. And personally speaking, I don't like doing that job very much. Some people love it, but I personally, it's not much what I like to do. So I started using AI to create the initial set of personas. So let me grab the link. I will share in our chat here. You guys can, sorry, can access it. It will be the same chat from my account that I created as an example of an application, a financial application that people can manage their bills, their expectations about income, outcome, a personal financial app, a straightforward one. There are many on the market right now, but I used the prompt to create an initial set of personas, so I could use that as a jump start to my initial discussions with my team, with stakeholders to validate some ideas. Of course, at some point, I would need to grab real users, potential users, personas, and interview them, make the job as we usually do. But this initial set already saved me a lot of time because I can jump straight off our initial meetings and discussions, draft some personas, validate some ideas that we had at the meeting, and move from there. Rather than, okay, we had our meeting, we had our list, let me grab some sponsor users, let me grab a list of users so I can reach out to and start drafting some personas. I can skip that part. So particularly speaking, this saves me a lot of time. I don't have a specific percentage because it's not like every iteration that I draft personas, but every time that I need to draft some personas, this saves me at least some hours of figuring out who I will reach out to and reaching out to them and waiting for their answers or organizing a workshop to create those personas, which is more time consuming even. So this was my first example on how, as a web developer, I use prompts to augment my work. In this case, I'm saving my own time so I can do whatever I want or get more work, creating more impact, or even relax with my daughter, which is what I usually do. So AI, it's not here to steal jobs. It's here to help us to deliver better things and save our time. We just need to be smart on where we invest that time. My second example here, I will also share the link, but this link here, it's a little bit different. Since this prompt had some images, I could not share the prompt in the GPT platform directly. So I had to export that chat so you get, the attendants can go through the chat as they want on their own machine, but it's not the GPT interface. So it will be a PDF file that will render on your browser. However, let me go through the example here on my presentation. Here will be on GPT, but the link that I shared in the chat, it's a PDF. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. But this example,
Daniel, sorry for interruption. Can you zoom a little bit? Slightly.
yes, I can.
Thank you.
And don't worry. Thank you, Karen. But don't worry about, hey, I need to read everything to understand. I will explain the use case, and hopefully the link shared can allow you to zoom in and check more parts into the detail. And of course, feel free to use the QA session if you want some clarification. But if you need more zoom, please let me know. I can do as much as needed. Not a problem. But in this use case, this is very, very pertinent to what I do on a daily basis. And as a web developer, I love what I did here. Let me explain. When I received the invite to create this presentation, I was very happy, of course, and I said to myself, hey, this need to be neat. This need to be according to Udacity guidelines and have a good quality. But one of my options would be going to Udacity folks and ask them, hey, what is the identity of your website? What is the primary color, the secondary color? Or I could go in there and inspect the page, as we usually do. We right-click, inspect, and check some details. We all do that at some point. However, what I did in this case, I took a print screen from Udacity web page, the current web page, because we know that the identity of a brand or a website, it's always evolving. So I would not like to have a specific hard-coded value like this hexadecimal color or this font family. I want to be able to extract that information based on dynamic information. So if I open Udacity website at any other day, I want to be able to extract that information without reaching out to Karen or going through CSS code to figure out the values. I simply want to take a screenshot, share in GPT, and ask, hey, can you extract the font family, the primary color, the secondary color, and everything that I would deem needed to my use case? And here, it generated an initial set of things based on what I asked. But then I knew that my presentation, my original presentation, that I will also share the link at the end to not confuse you folks. I have a presentation built in a framework named review.js. I love doing my presentations there because I am a big nerd. I don't like PowerPoint, but I love doing my presentation, writing my code. I feel better doing that. So I asked, based on that information that I extracted, to generate a theme file that I could use on my application, on my presentation, using that framework. So all of the sudden now I have a themed file that I could reuse on every Udacity presentation as long as the identity remained the same. Of course, if Udacity changed their brand style, I would need to update again, but it would be saving me time because I don't need to reach out to a person. I don't need to go through CSS code. I can simply take a screenshot and share. Few seconds versus few minutes versus few hours, potential few hours of waiting for someone to reply to your answer, right? To your question, sorry. But I have not stopped by generating the theme file. Let me show you all other thing that I did in this prompt. Hold on, I'm scrolling down. Don't worry about reading. But here at this point, I asked myself, hey, as a developer, I have the bias of using everything on dark mode, right? Because I am 24 hours in front of my screen. If I use light mode, my eyes will fry up at some point. So everything I'm biased to use dark mode. However, I remember reading that presentations can be better to the audience on when you use light mode. So I used the prompt to understand a little bit better. Hey, what is better, dark mode, light mode? And I got some argumentation that if I had an online presentation versus a presential one, the presential one would be better as a light theme because of the contrast. But for the online presentation, I could go with a dark mode. It doesn't really matter. It's a matter of personal taste. So I could get some insights. That's what is powerful. You can extract insights and get information that you would not on a regular basis. Like without the prompt, with a general information about things. And remember, large language models are not intelligent. Their work is not to be intelligent. Their work is to predict the next token while generating you an answer. So you need to be able to extract value out of it. It's not like, hey, I will say anything and it will magically respond about anything accurately. You need to have criteria to formulate your prompt and also to interpret the output, consume that output. We all saw some examples of someone generating content and pasting as an email or as a document without reading it through and having some header information like, hey, here's the text you asked for, or some fake information, right? So I want to highlight AI, large language models, they don't solve all the problems. They don't have all the knowledge in the world. They have the knowledge that the platform allowed to go through, and they have a date cut. Always have. So GPT is the best tool in the market right now, but it doesn't have current information about 2024. It can search the web, that's true, but the model itself, the large language model, it has information from 2003 backwards. So it's important to know those things while working with prompts. You need to be able to formulate your thoughts, but you need to be able to understand the output as well. It's not a silver bullet that you will ask for something, grab it blindly, and reuse it. You need to have criteria. So this example was very powerful. It saves me a lot of time. I don't have a specific time because each case is different, but just for grabbing primary, secondary colors and the font family versus going through the style sheet saved me a few minutes versus going to some Udacity employee and asking for those values saved me potentially few hours of waiting for some reply. So this is something I do on my daily basis a lot. I took some screenshots, sharing the GPT, and asked for some extraction. And this is a cool thing to mention, that GPT as a product makes it looks like it's magic, right? But the large language model, for example, doesn't have the capability of parsing images. It's the product, the GPT product, that makes it possible. So they have multi models, they have multi capabilities, multiple layers to parse images, parse audios, join things up, create the memory, glue things up. So you as an end user can have this seamless experience as it is a one thing only, but it's a bundle of things working well orchestrated together. Okay. So my third example, let me grab the link. This one is easier for folks to follow through because it's back to GPT. And again, I could not share the GPT link for the previous one because it has the screenshot. It's a limitation from the platform. Chats that have upload files cannot be shared directly. But this one I could share directly, and let's explore together. Let me scroll up. So here is something that I do a lot. And I understand this is personal because each person has a way of absorbing knowledge better. So some people like to hear, some people like to exercise, some people like to teach, some people like everything together. Personally, I like to teach. I like not teach. I like to exchange ideas. I like to discuss so I can memorize or absorb some content better. So in this specific case, I had a new intern joining my team, and I was explaining about the JavaScript phases, specifically how it hoists variables, how it works, because JavaScript is a crazy language. We say it's a runtime language that goes line by line, single-threaded, and that's true in the essence. But we also know that there is a level of interpretation ahead of time. There is a level of compilation with the just-in-time compiler. So it's not compiled like Java. And in the essence, it's a runtime thing, but there is a compilation under the hood. There are some things that are done by the V8 engine or Microsoft one, Chakra Core, but V8 is the mostly used for Node.js, all versions, and in the browser as well. It's the same one running on Chromium-based browsers. It's named V8. So back to the prompt, I had a new intern joining my team, and I was willing to explain those things to him. But I was like, hey, am I remembering those details correctly? So I used the prompt to validate that what I was thinking was correct. So this is what I want to show you guys that I'm always doing, is validating some idea, or I just heard something, or I just got some explanation out of the prompt, and hey, did I understood this correctly? And I put my line of thought, and I analyze the output. So in this case, it was cool because it said, you are close, but there is this small detail that you are getting it wrong. So I read the response, I understood it. I went to the V8 documentation, and I understood there was a new component added in the latest versions. So I set the context. Hey, I'm studying the features, and about this particular feature, let me see if I got it right. And I set my my understanding about it. And it was cool because it validated that my core concept was correct, but there was more details for me to go through. So I used that as a study method nowadays. I'm always doing that because as an architect at IBM, I need to be on top of new technologies to implement new stuff, to ensure that we are doing things in a way that brings more value, brings innovation. And at Udacity, I need to be able to help students on any question about the technology. So very often they come up with a framework that I'm not used to. Then I need to study a bit, and I use GPT prompts, right, to validate my understanding. So those were my 3 examples from prompts, but I have like a bunch of examples here that we can discuss offline if someone wants to connect and discuss further. For those that work with Jira, that they know how how messy it can be. I use a lot to manage my epics, my stories, my subtasks. I like to create acceptance criteria, and it's always based on my input. So remember, the iteration manager won't be replaced. He can do it faster in a better quality. But those that cannot, they will be probably left out by the industry. So it's not like AI is taking jobs. AI is a new tool that allow you to be faster, to be more productive, or to produce things that you could not in the past. And those that cannot, like if you put 2 developers with the same skill level side by side, and one can use prompts, can use the APIs that I will show in a moment, versus the other that can't, it's unfair to compare, right? People that can use that technology can reach greater destinations all the time. I will show how it worked for me. Back to the presentation. I want to discuss 3 types of AI services. Remember, up until now, we discussed prompts. Everyone from pretty much every profession can go in there, in GPT, Gemini, and others, and extract value based on their context, what they need to do, what they need to achieve, every profession at some point. However, for AI services, it's focused on folks building applications, building solutions. And I will show a little bit. Inference endpoint, so pretty much using ChatGPT APIs, the endpoints. Or in my case at IBM, we have the Watson X platform, which is very great to create things out. They host a lot of open source models, Llama 3, Granite from IBM. There are others, but Llama and Granite is the most common used today. It's cool for people wanting to build some things out. Again, the focus here is not the Watson X platform, but after the presentation, if you guys want to learn more about the IBM solution for AI, feel free to reach out. I can share some links, some explanations, but it's not the focus for today's presentation. We have AI and machine learning models as a service. Oh, sorry, as a service, because remember, AI, it's not a new thing. Large language models are, but AI like image recognition, audio analysis, things like that exists for a long time now. Recommendation algorithms, all sorts of stuff. It exists for a long time now, and we have a platform just like we have NPM for Node.js packages or pip for Python packages. We have Hugging Faces with transformers for machine learning models. We have a platform that hosts those models for us, and we can install and use them on our applications. And there are some web-based toolings, like services that you can upload an image and get a transformed image, or you can prompt something and get a video out of it. It could be considered as a personal assistant, but the focus is to generate an asset, an output, a video file, a transformation. Okay, but my focus today will be again a list of 3 examples based on things I did. The first, we will see the Hugging Faces platform. I will show it to you. And then we will see a small integration using Jupyter Notebook. It's a very quickie one, but the intention of this quickie demo is to show that you as a developer, if you know how to integrate APIs as a web developer, you probably are well versed with that. You can go in there, go to select a model that interests you. You will be presented to a documentation, to some starter code, to some guidelines. And you can go to your Jupyter Notebook, which is a Python environment. You could use Google Colab or a Python code directly. There are integrations for Node.js, but for this presentation purpose, I selected Jupyter Notebook because it's easier for me to demonstrate. But again, as a web developer, you have the freedom to choose any tool that you want to achieve what you are willing to achieve. And that's what I want you all to take home today. There is a platform that you can go in there and search for models and use them, quick prototype them, and then build a more robust application, which are my second and third examples. I have two open source projects that I will share the links in the chat in a minute. But those open source projects use deep learning, machine learning, and AI elements that, to be very honest with you all, I could not do without prompt help, like getting some guidance on prompt, and also the Hugging Face platform, because to analyze some image in the past, I would need to reach out to some data scientist, data engineer, depending of what I'm trying to achieve. But today, as a web developer, I can do that all on my own. So I will show the solution, the GitHub, we'll share the link. I will walk through some parts of the code, especially the ones that I would not be able to achieve without using AI. Okay. And finally, I have a keyway generator solution, which is also open source. It's also on GitHub, and I will discuss some techniques of what I had to do in that application to make it work as I expected it to work. So without any further ado, I have the Hugging Face platform here. Let me zoom in a bit. Let me share the link for those that doesn't know this platform. As I said, this is similar to NPM or PIP. People can go in there, any people. But companies also share things here. But it's collaborative. It's open source. You as an individual can have a data set of traffic information of your city or sales data of your small market on your neighborhood. I don't know. It can be all sorts of stuff. And you can host it in here so other people can use on their experiments or projects, or even yourself in the future. So again, pretty much like NPM, but for data sets, models, and so on. For today's demo, I prepared a small example using an earlier version of GPT distributed by Distilbert GPT-2. Oops. Distil GPT-2. I chose that one because it's easier to demonstrate. I will go to the Jupyter Notebook in a bit. But what I want to demonstrate here is that every model that you select, you can type like image. There are all sorts of models for dealing with image. I want to deal with audio. I want to deal with recommendation. There are all sorts of stuff that you can explore. So if you have an idea or you have a use case, you can come in here and explore. I will show my perspective on how I did to my open source projects. But for this example, I selected this one because it's free, it's easy, it's lightweight. But what is important is every model that you go into the page, there will be details. It will have examples. It will have the model card, which is important to understand how to interact with that model. The training data information is also important because the training data is pretty much what gives it capability. So if it was trained on a specific data set, a generalist data set, you cannot ask about math questions, for example. Yeah, you can, you should not, because the answer would not be adequate. But understanding the training data, the underlying data, the model goal, the parameters, things like that will help you integrate better with the model. Okay. Without any further ado, I will get out of the Hugging Face platform for now. Just know that by going that URL, you can browse for models and then explore. So if you want to play with image recognition, select one there. If you are not sure of which one you could select, I recommend you going back to ChatGPT or a similar like Google Gemini, whatever, and ask, hey, I'm trying to build an application to play with image recognition. Which model available on Hugging Face do you recommend me to use? Then you can go to the full cycle. You can use the prompt to feed your ideas, to give your guidance, and use the platform to actually build your solution, build your application, and deliver value to yourself, to your clients, and so on. Here I have the example. The first line is the pip install. It's pretty much npm install something. Transformers is the name of the library that Hugging Faces made available for all of us to use. So you need to install the Transformers library, and then you can create a pipeline. I imported the pipeline object from the Transformers library, and this pipeline will accept the type, the category of the model I am working, the name of the model. I set more parameters here like framework, PyTorch. It depends on your machine. If you have GPU, if you have Apple Silicon, you can play with parameters depending on your hardware. And then here I defined a very simple prompt as a web developer, leveraging AI tools can, and then I simply integrate with the model. I could set a higher length, a smaller length, depends on what I am trying to achieve. So here, it's a very simple Python code. I can share that at the end. I don't have it on GitHub, I just figured, but I can put on the slide deck after our presentations. But it's a very simple code. If you go to the Distill GPT-2 model card, you will see a very similar example. Okay, so here, based on the input I shared, it created this output. Again, I won't go into the merit if it makes sense or not, the output, but as a developer building applications, it's up to us to tune up the parameters, use a combination of techniques like re-ranking, entity extraction from user input. There are all sorts of techniques that we can implement to make sure that the output makes sense to the user. Remember what I said about GPT. GPT is not one thing that receives your input and figures out what to do. It's a product with several models and layers of development, like if analysis, the traditional if analysis, plus the models. So it creates a seamless experience, but it's not the model alone. And this is what is happening right now. We have a simple prompt going through a model, and it generates an answer that doesn't make sense all the time. So it's up to us as developers to make sure that we are using the model correctly. We are having layers like pre-processing layers, post-processing layers in a way that mitigate errors, hallucinations, and things like that. Okay, so back to the presentation. This was the first demo. We went through the Hugging Faces platform and we explored an initial example based on a very lightweight model. Now, I want to demonstrate a solution to you guys. Here is the link. This link is my repository. It's an open source project, as I said, but it's under my account. The purpose of this project is to allow a user to upload a video and make queries against it. The use case for this project was very interesting, in my opinion. I had a client friend that has a commerce. He has a store on my city, and he had a problem with deliveries. The problem is that our postal company always said to him, "Hey, I could not deliver because there was no one at the store." And my friend, on the other hand, said, "Hey, I was here all the time." So he has the closed circuit caption, the television, the cameras, right, around the store. And what he needed to do when that happened, he went to the video, like the whole day recorded, and he tried to find exactly the point that the car, or the postal code car, went to the store, and he could not find, or he could, but it takes time. This is what I'm trying to say. His use case is that every time that he had a conflict of information, he had to spend minutes to hours trying to find that moment to discuss with the postal code. No, I was here, or no, you guys were not here trying to deliver, because there are some fees when that happened, because that's why it's a fight. So this solution allowed him to upload the whole recording and ask, at what time I had a yellow car at front of my store. You see, it's faster now, way faster. So that was the motivation behind that project. And I did, on my personal time, I was not willing to make money out of it. I was trying to exercise my AI skills and present myself to the industry, right? Because collaborating, creating open source project can help greatly with that. Developer imminence, things like that. So the project itself, my goal here today is to demonstrate how it works. I don't have the front end up and running to demonstrate the application up and running, but let me talk about the stack, the architecture, and then we can have some code walkthrough. Okay, so for the backend, we have it written in Python. Again, I could write it in Node.js if I want, but Python is optimal for this type of processing. So when the video is uploaded, we do some sort of processing. I have them on that image. It will be kind of not good to show that image here, but as you guys have the link, feel free to check on your own. But the idea here is, when the user uploads the video, we try to at least zoom a bit. The user uploads the video, we extract the audio out of the video, and we process it into chunks. Those chunks are defined by what we call white space or silence. So when we detected some period of silence, we broke into chunks. And for each audio chunk, I need to categorize that chunk, right? So we use it, let me go back here. We use it that librosa. It's very popular. And remember how I ended up using librosa. I went to Hugging Face. I asked for audio processing models. Then from the ones that I learned at the time, I went to ChatGPT and asked for recommendation based on my use case. Okay, Librosa will categorize each audio chunk into, it is music, like background music. It is speech. If it is speech, let's create the captions. That's when I put the PyDub library into the game. The PyDub allows me to not only split, but to extract the information, what people are saying in that audio chunk, okay? And again, remember, in a conversation, we have people talking, and I am breaking chunks into the silence gaps so I can build a conversation back if I want to. It's not perfect because I need to tune the model. Perhaps I need to use a different model, but this is the process. For audio processing, I takes the video that the user submitted, I process it at all as a whole, and it creates me some JSON files. Let me show you a bit of the code. Otherwise, it will be many things to talk. So here in the server, I have, oops, this is the server for the front end. Hold on. Hold on. Let me hold on. Let me share my screen again. I can share my ID. It's easier for me. Hold on. Share. Okay, now I'm showing my ID. So here I have the UI. Here I have the service. Here I have what I'm calling pipelines. So for each processing, I receive it in a pipeline, right? So my first pipeline, hold on, just a sec. Okay, nice. So when I receive the video, I call a new pipeline. Let me try to zoom in a bit. I don't know if you guys can see it very well, but let me, settings. Okay, now I believe it's good. So here I receive in that class, I will receive the video path that was uploaded, and then I will extract the audio, classify the audio, transcribe the audio. So if you take a look at the repository, you will see a very semantic implementation. I try to focus on that. And here's the part I mentioned to you. In the classification phase, if I see it as a speech, I use the Google recognition tool to build those paths and then use the PyDub to create the JSON file. So let me open a JSON file here so we can see how it looks like. So in that case, we are saying it started at second 0 and ended at second 1.7 something. and the classification. And even though it classified as a speech in that particular frame, it was not able to understand audio. That happens because the model is not properly tuned yet. So here on the chunk 4, for example, that lasted a second, it was classified as music. So I keep doing that to all audio chunks from my application. Okay, this is the first step. Then we need to extract frames from the video. This is not AI. This is a traditional programming type of thing, so I won't focus very much on that. But imagine that for a video, I need to slice it through images so I can analyze the image. I don't analyze the video as a whole. I analyze each image, right? So when we say that we analyze frames, we do two things. We extract the features from a frame. So imagine I have a 1 minute video and I'm saying that I will generate 1 frame per second. So I will have 60 frames, and for each frame, I will extract the features. What are features? The overall color, if it's rainy, things like that, the features of the frame itself. And second, I will detect objects from that frame. And to do that, I'm using this popular model, YOLO V5. And again, remember, as a web developer, I had no knowledge about those models. So I went to Hugging Face with my idea of processing a video, processing a frame in this case, researched for image recognition models, and then I went back to ChatGPT and validated my idea, got recommendations, and that's how I ended up with that particular model. In the past, I would need to interact with some data scientist, some data something to explain my use case, hear their recommendations, and then start seeing how to do it. So that's how AI helped me. One, to implement that thing, because I would not be able to implement on my own, but using Hugging Face and ChatGPT, I was able to implement it. And two, the code itself, because I also generated part of that code using prompts, right? So as a developer, this is how I took advantage out of AI. But let me finish explaining this use case very briefly. So remember that for each video, we generated 2 different types of assets, audio and images. For audio, we did that processing. For images, we split the processing into 2, the feature extraction and object recognition. This leaves me, hold on, with 2. Let me show you that frame. I have that initial frame for the video I uploaded. The detections, it said it's a cat. I don't know, it's a rabbit, mix it up with something else. But okay, it figured out as a cat. Again, the model can be better when tuned, when prepared. This is simply, hey, take that image and analyze it. And there is a confidence level that I can use on my application to discard or take decisions. And the features, it's a vector of information. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to just look at it, but all this information in a vector represents the features of that image. So the predominant color, elements, not object detection, but the features. If it was sunny, if there was a clear space, things like that. The features of the frame. And All of that, I go and ingest into a database that is a similarity database. Let me stop my share and go back to my browser again. So I have this database here. Oops. And this database is called Milvus. We have relational databases and non-relational databases, and now we have these vector database, non-relational databases. So what it allows me to do is that takes the user prompt like yellow car, and then I can convert that user input to the embedding, to the vectorized information, similar to what I showed in the last object, something like that, a vector of information, right? We have lots of decimal points representing something. So we get the user input and convert to that format as well. So I can query against it. I query vector against vector because we are looking for similarity. So one example that I like to use, if I write a word in Portuguese or in English, it will have the same semantic meaning. So we can have a similar search based on the meaning of that word. We can implement something like that. And that's why you can talk with ChatGPT in any language that you want, one of the reasons. But the idea here is that for each audio frame and for each image frame I put that I processed in the application, I store into that database. So when the user creates an input, yellow car in front of my store, I can query that database, get the potential good results based on their distance, lower the distance, better the results. It's a similarity search, so there is this concept of distance. And then I can get that information that came from Milvus that will have all metadata, position of the image, time frame, like timestamp of that frame. So if the user asks for a yellow car, I can say, hey, there was a yellow car at 1 hour length of the video because I have all the metadata at my hand. And at the end, with everything that at my hand, then I integrate with a large language model, the ChatGPT API in that case. And for those interested in open source or getting their hands wet, we can talk offline, but this is exactly the part that I am implementing, the large language model integration with the input that came from Milvus database. So it can parse the response. So I take the user input, what time there was a yellow car in front of my store. I pass this input and the Milvus result. So I have objects with metadata. This goes to the large language model, and the response would be, there was a yellow car at the minute 64 of that video on the front of your store. Or no, there was no yellow car at the front of your store today. So we can build all sorts of stuff. And I was only able to implement that application. Remember, the deep learning layers, which would be taking the video, extracting the frames, processing each frame, taking the audio, breaking the audio into silence gaps, and processing each audio. That would be not, at least for me, I would not be able to deliver or build such application without leveraging AI. Not only the prompts, but the APIs, the models. So the shift that the industry saw in the past few months or 2 years, to be exact, allowed me to deliver solutions that I could not in the past. So if I take a colleague with the same development level that I have, without using AI, the other colleague would not be able to implement such type of solution, at least not without engaging with more people, investing more time, money, other people's time, than the one that knows how to leverage AI to augment their capabilities. Finally, I know that we are past the time. I have another solution that I will share the link, but it's way simpler. It's a QA generator. So you put a text there, you upload a PDF or something, and it generates QA pairs. We used that, our use case to build that was to create, how it's called, a synthetic content generator. So at IBM, we have lots of documentations, but we cannot simply upload documentations and expect the large language models who would be able to respond. So we create this RAG architecture based on those keyways that I generate from the content. I have a video here showing. No, I have not. Sorry. I can share in the presentation afterwards as well. But the idea is that you generate those keyway, then you upload the keyway items to Milvus to create this layer. So when the user prompts something, we go to Milvus, we get the potential keyways that are related to the user input, and then we bring everything to the large language model processing. As we are out of time, I won't go into the detail for this particular demo, but feel free to reach out offline and we can discuss as much as needed. Finally, in the times that we have AI more and more prominent in our area, it makes sure that it's not important to know all the answers. I don't need to memorize every single documentation, every single React new version that launches every year. I don't need to memorize all of that. I need to know how to ask questions. I need to know how to extract value. So as a developer, this is the outcome of this presentation. Learn how to structure your thoughts, learn how to ask questions, and you can get virtually any answer that you need in the industry today. Thank you. This is my daughter with my Node.js mug. I love them very much. My daughter, I love her very much. So thank you for listening to me. It was a pleasure being here with you. It's also a pleasure to work at Udacity as a mentor. And today we have this Black Friday coupon that anyone can use to enroll into a new course, a new nano degree, get a new subscription to boost their career and get that next step. When I joined Udacity, that changed my career a lot, and I hope you can experience the same. Thank you all for the attention, and I will share my LinkedIn in the
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel, for I think your session was really engaging and the walkthrough really helped learners to understand better how things work. So we do not have many questions, but we have a question from Marco. He's saying that you said that you study new things from ChatGPT and let ChatGPT explain something which you remember. But we know that ChatGPT has a delay of at least 6 months. So how does it explain something new?
Yeah, this is a great question. Thank you. So there is some sort of limitation to new content. However, ChatGPT can nowadays search in the internet. So it can also give updated answer about new content. The thing is that can have a bias because if the documentation out there in the wild is outdated, you can get an outdated or incorrect information that was not reviewed by the curator team. That is the risk of reading new content into GPT, because it will do a Google search for you, essentially, but there is no validation of the content that is there.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for answering this. We have another question from Ananta. Is there any other approach that you considered other than using the similarity database approach? It is the first time I've heard of this, and he's curious about, to know about it.
Yeah, the alternative to that is kind of out of reach to many people, because it would be modifying the underlying model to include the information that you need. So it leaves us with creating this RAG architecture. RAG is nothing else than having a layer before reaching to the large language model, so you can inject context into it. So instead of uploading documents of my company to a large language model, I can search on a similarity database and connect to the large language model after. We don't need to use a similarity database all the time. We can use like a SQL or NoSQL. We can use all sorts of stuff. However, the similarity database allow users to make dynamic queries. They can have typos, they can have punctuations, they can have some differences, language differences, but the similarity database would yield good results. So if you go to a SQL, you could have a like query to make it more or less dynamic, but to have this dynamic aspect of allowing user to ask something in their own way without creating ifs and else's to treat each input, sorry, the similarity database abstracts that a lot.
Amazing. So these were the questions. Thank you all for being part of the session. If we were not able to take up your questions, kindly use the Q&A form, Google form link that is at the end of the slide deck. So you can use that link to fill up any of the questions that comes to your mind, and we'll try to provide the answers later on. Before we wrap up, let me tell you that we have our next session on December 3rd, that is Tuesday next week. So we'll be covering topic which mainly focuses on building a standout professional profile in minutes using generative AI. So this could be insightful for you if you're interested. We look forward to see you there. Also, once you close this webinar, there'll be a feedback form. Do feel free to provide us feedback so that it can help us refine and improve our sessions. Thank you so much all for being part of this. See you until next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.